Hi, I'm Jasmine Gripper, Legislative Director of the Alliance for Quality Education. And I'm going to tell you how New York City's millionaires and billionaires just influence our state budget to block key funding for education and for our schools. If you've ever heard me talk before, I've always talked about how budgets are about priorities. And when we live in one of the richest states, when we pass a budget that doesn't fully fund our schools, it's because we chose not to prioritize education. The New York Times just broke a story about how a potential revenue raiser called the pied-à-terre tax was defeated by New York City's big real estate industry. The pied-à-terre tax, for those who don't know it, who aren't familiar with what happens in New York, would have been a tax on the second home or third home of wealthy people who own an extra condo in New York City. These $1 million condos that sit unused for the majority of the year, but are owned by wealthy folks who usually don't even live in New York. And the plan was to tax those condos. This tax could have brought in about $600 million in revenue. Our state governor announced today, Friday night, that he was passing a budget that shortchanged our schools by literally $600 million. The same amount that would have been raised if we passed the pied-à-terre tax. Just 3 weeks ago, the Assembly said they supported the pied-à-terre tax. The Senate said they supported the pied-à-terre tax. The governor said he supported the pied-à-terre tax. Just last week, the same three branches of government all said they supported this tax. Then, everything changed in 1 week because the New York City real estate industry hired lobbyists, talked to the governor, talked to folks in the Assembly's office, and they shut it down and they killed it. And so because our state officials chose to listen to the real estate industry and not tax these wealthy homes, our children have to wait another year and not have the education funding that our kids deserve. Literally $600 million is what our schools needed in order to provide our children with a quality education. And instead of taxing the wealthy and the 1%, they chose to underfund our public schools. It's Friday night here in Albany, and on Saturday night, the legislators are going to the Capitol to talk about the state budget, and they're planning on voting on Sunday. And what they're going to say is that this is a tough budget. This was a hard budget. Our state was in a financial crisis. We had to tighten our purse strings. And that's why we're doing a budget that doesn't fully fund our schools. But the reality is none of that's true. They're doing a budget that doesn't fully fund our schools because they chose to listen to the wealthy and the 1%. They chose to listen to REBNY and the real estate lobby instead of listening to parents, community, and activists that have been begging our state leaders to fund our schools. It doesn't have to be this way. Albany doesn't have to work this way, but this is what our legislators choose to do. If you live in New York State, call your elected official, hold them accountable for their vote and for the decision. And when they tell you that they had to do it, note that that's a lie. They did it because budgets are about priorities, and they prioritize the 1% over our children.